Every hour you're awake, you're spending something more valuable than money. You feel it draining when you scroll past midnight, when you replay an argument for the third time, when you give your best focus to things that give nothing back. By the end of this, you'll understand exactly what you've been spending, where it's been going, and how to redirect it toward the life you actually came here to live. Charles Haanel published the Master Key System in 1912 as a 24-part correspondence course. Students received one lesson per week and were expected to practice it daily before moving on. The structure was deliberate. Haanel understood that intellectual agreement means almost nothing without sustained application. And the thread running through every single lesson, the one principle he returns to, more than any other, is this: your attention is the creative force of your existence. Where you place it, you place your life. He put it bluntly: the mind is the real force behind every condition you experience. Your world, your relationships, your finances, your health, your emotional baseline is a reflection of what you've been attending to, consciously or unconsciously. Most people sleepwalk through this process. They let their attention get hijacked by headlines, by other people's urgency, by the loudest emotion in the room. Then they wonder why their life feels like it belongs to someone else. Think of attention the way you think about money. You wake up each morning with a finite amount. Every thought you entertain is a purchase. Every mental replay of a past wound, every anxious projection about next Tuesday, every hour lost in content you won't remember by dinner, those are transactions. You're buying experiences with the most limited resource you have. The question Haanel forces you to sit with is uncomfortable. What have you been buying? Most people, if they audited their mental spending the way they'd audit a bank statement, would be horrified. Hours spent rehearsing conversations that will never happen. Entire afternoons consumed by worry about outcomes they have zero control over. And the cruelest part, the mind doesn't distinguish between vivid imagination and lived experience when it comes to emotional impact. Your body responds to a vividly imagined catastrophe with the same tension, the same constriction, the same heaviness as a real one. You're paying full price for experiences that exist only in your head. Haanel's first exercise in the system sounds almost absurdly simple. Sit still for 15 to 30 minutes. Control your body. Let your thoughts settle. That's it. He assigns this before anything else because he knows the average person has never once sat with their own mind long enough to see what it's actually doing. Try it tonight. Sit in a chair, close the door, and watch where your attention goes when you stop directing it. You'll discover something unsettling. Your attention has a life of its own. It moves like water, flowing toward whatever channel is deepest. And the deepest channels are almost always carved by fear, resentment, or craving. This is the gap Haanel identified over a century ago. The difference between people who shape their reality and people who feel shaped by it comes down to one skill: the ability to place attention deliberately and hold it there. He called it concentration, but the word has been watered down since then. He meant something closer to a sustained, conscious, almost athletic act of directing your inner focus toward a chosen idea while everything else competes for the spotlight. So why does this matter beyond mental hygiene? Because Haanel's framework rests on a claim that goes deeper than psychology. He taught that mind is the underlying substance of all form. Thought is creative. The quality of your sustained attention literally determines what crystallizes in your outer world. A scattered mind produces scattered results. A little progress here, a setback there, relationships that half work, goals that stay permanently almost achieved. A focused mind, one trained to hold a single clear image with emotional conviction, produces conditions that match that image. The outer world rearranges itself around the inner one. You've seen this operate in your own life, even if you never used Haanel's language for it. Remember a period when you were consumed by a specific worry. Everything seemed to confirm it. Conversations bent toward the topic. Evidence appeared everywhere. The worry felt prophetic when it was actually magnetic. Your attention selected for data that matched its frequency and filtered out everything that contradicted it. The world didn't change. Your filter did. And, through that filter, you built a very specific experience of reality. One you then mistook for objective truth. Now run that mechanism in reverse. Haanel's later lessons walk you through visualization exercises where you hold a detailed mental image of a desired condition, with the key instruction that you must feel it as already real. The emotional tone matters as much as the picture. You're training your attention to dwell in the completed state rather than in the gap between where you are and where you want to be. That gap is where most people live, permanently reaching, permanently aware of the distance. And that awareness of distance is itself a creative act. It reproduces the distance. Here's where most students of this material stumble, and it's worth being honest about the difficulty. Holding your attention on a chosen thought for even 60 seconds is genuinely hard. The mind rebels. It throws up distractions, objections, memories, itches, sudden urgent tasks. Harnell expected this. He designed the course to build the muscle gradually, week by week, because he knew that attention, like any capacity, strengthens only under resistance. The person who sits down to visualize their ideal life and gives up after 2 minutes because their mind wandered has just learned something valuable. They've seen how little sovereignty they currently have over their own inner world. That recognition is the starting point. You can't redirect a river you haven't mapped. The early weeks of practice reveal the habitual channels your attention flows through, the grooves worn deep by years of unconscious repetition. Some of those grooves serve you. Most were carved by default, by environment, by inherited beliefs you never examined. Harnell's system is essentially a method for carving new channels, deliberately through repetition so consistent that the new groove eventually becomes the path of least resistance. Consider what this means practically. If attention is currency, and your inner world is a marketplace, then every morning you face a choice about what to invest in. You can spend your first waking minutes reviewing everything that's wrong, everything that's uncertain, everything that might go sideways. That's a purchase. You've just bought 30 minutes of contracted, defensive consciousness, and the receipt shows up as tension in your shoulders, flatness in your voice, and a subtle filter over every interaction for the next several hours. Or you could spend those same minutes in a deliberately constructed inner state, holding an image of the life you're building, feeling the version of you who already inhabits it, letting that emotional tone set the baseline for the day. Same currency. Radically different purchase. Harnell was adamant about one thing that separates his teaching from shallow positive thinking. The practice requires what he called mental diet, with total commitment. You can't visualize abundance for 20 minutes and then spend 6 hours mentally rehearsing scarcity. The math doesn't work. 20 minutes of focused attention against 6 hours of habitual fear produces a net result that looks a lot like the fear. The ratio has to shift, and shifting it requires the kind of vigilance that most people underestimate until they try it. This is the inner work that nobody posts about. The moment at 2 in the afternoon when your mind drifts back to an old grievance and you actually catch it mid-sentence, and gently redirect it toward the image you're building. That catch is the practice. That micro moment of choosing where your attention goes, repeated hundreds of times across weeks and months, is what rewrites your default settings. Each redirection is a vote for the new channel. Each time you let the old pattern run unchecked, you're reinforcing the groove you're trying to outgrow. Skeptics within the spiritual tradition itself sometimes push back on this, arguing that attention alone can't override material conditions. And the objection has weight. Someone facing genuine hardship can't simply think their way to safety. Harnell would agree, partially. He never taught passive visualization. His system includes action, but he insisted that action without directed attention is mechanical, reactive, and ultimately circular. You end up doing more of what produced the current conditions. Attention precedes action, the way an architect's vision precedes the foundation. The building goes where the blueprint says. If you skip the blueprint, you're just stacking bricks. Week by week, the exercises in the Master Key system grow more demanding. You move from sitting still to holding a single object in your mind without distraction, then to constructing entire scenes, then to inhabiting those scenes emotionally, then to releasing them entirely, trusting the creative process to handle the details. That final stage, the release, is where the deepest work lives. Because letting go of a desired outcome after pouring your full attention into it requires a kind of faith that can't be faked. You've spent your currency, you've made the purchase, and now you walk away from the counter, trusting that delivery is already in motion. Your attention right now in this very moment is doing what it always does. It's building. The question Harnell spent 24 weeks answering is the only question that actually matters. What are you building with it? Every minute you spend in resentment is a brick in a house you'll have to live in. Every minute you spend in a deliberately chosen inner state is a brick in the one you actually want. You woke up this morning with a full account. You've been spending it all day. Tomorrow, you'll get a fresh deposit. The balance resets, but the purchases you've already made, the mental habits, the emotional grooves, the default channels, those compound. They always compound. So tonight, before you sleep, sit with Harnell's first exercise. 15 minutes. Just you and the raw current of your own attention. Watch where it pulls. Then, gently place it somewhere worth the price.